Greetings petrolheads, welcome back to Car Mechanic Simulator 2015. Obviously we're gonna restore this one today, because I already showed it last time. So, okay, we got a Delray Imperator. So we got McPherson's up front, we got Multilinks on the rear, we got a V8 up front, and well, let's get going. Gonna be buying the parts first, I think. Well, I very much think so now that I'm in the shop. No, not this one. Brake servo, 4 of these, 4 of these. Drive shaft for sure. Need that. 2 of those. Two again. Then 2. The cross member should be the regular one, and it is. Spray bar, 1, 2, 1, 2. This. Anything else? Okay. These ones, then 2 here, 2 here. And then 8 spark plugs. 2 spring caps, a starter, the steering rack. Then these, and that, 2 of those, 1 of these, and then we pretty much got it. Okay, so now we're gonna lift this thing up, drain some oil and get going. We could have also started under the bonnet. That would not be the worst idea. Wow, so this thing had a lot of bad oil in it. You know what, let's do it now. Because this car looks very much like a Dodge Challenger, a new generation Dodge Challenger. I remember when they announced that they would bring the Challenger back, and it finally arrived. Like in, when did they relaunch the Challenger? 2008, something like that. 2007 perhaps. And that's almost 10 years ago now. I remember seeing the first pictures of the then relaunched Challenger and being like, wow, this looks so good. And I remember that as if it was yesterday, but it's so many years ago already, man. It's just, time's been flying by. It's kind of crazy. One of the pictures I still remember was one where there was an orange Challenger, one of the you know, 2008 or something generation, and it was standing in a desert, and it did a burnout, and behind its tail there was not only a huge like sand smoke cloud, but behind that there was also a cactus. It just looked epic, that picture, and I still remember that until this day, and I don't know why. I mean, I don't know, it's just like the story with muscle cars usually is that, you know, they look awesome, they sound awesome usually, but then when you actually get to drive them, most of the time you're gonna be disappointed, which is why I've never driven. Wait, what? I forgot about that. I've never driven any muscle car so far. And you know, it is pretty commonly known that, especially like old muscle cars from the 60s and so on, they were mostly like terrible to drive. If you've ever watched any show where they reviewed a 65 Mustang in a modern age, you would see that they're just like, oh man, this thing's just terrible by today's standards. They always say, yeah, okay, it's decently quick, but it doesn't have brakes and it doesn't have handling at all. You need to start braking like miles before the corner, so you don't actually get to use the engine very much, because you're gonna spend most of the time braking. Because if you don't, and you're gonna go into the corner too fast, you get like miles of understeer. You know, it's just, I wouldn't recommend actually trying it out, and I don't want to try it out myself either. What I would like to do is maybe drive a modern day Mustang GT, like the new generation that came out like last year, also 2 years ago, with the 5-liter V8, 419 horsepower. That one's actually a pretty good car, I think, and might drive as well as it looks. You know, that's the primary concern I have with those cars. Does it drive as well as it looks? That was also always the... I shouldn't only be hating on like old muscle cars, because it was the same story with old Lamborghinis. The Miura was just, and especially the Countach was terrifying. It was a car you really wouldn't want to drive. You wanted to be seen in it. You wanted people to see, you know, the car, which in the late 70s and 80s, it looked like it came from outer space. But in order to be seen in the car, you actually have to drive it, which is something you wouldn't want to do. So there's the problem with that. In any case, are there any such cars today, like cars in general have improved quite a lot, I have to say. Obviously, over the past 50 years, I mean, where would we be if they hadn't? What would mankind be if we were driving the same shitty cars for the last 50 years? It's it just wouldn't really be indicative of us humans being actually intelligent, an intelligent species. And of course, not all of us are, myself included in a group that isn't. But yeah, where was I going with that? Does anybody these days, does any manufacturer these days build cars that look amazing and fast but are just absolutely painful to drive? I don't mean like cars that are like the Hyundai Veloster that look fast but aren't, but cars that look awesome but are just absolutely terrible. You know, that I can't really think of a good example right now. Maybe some of the very oh, actually I can think of an example. It's the Zenvo ST1, and don't get me wrong, it is fast as hell, but maybe you've probably watched the Top Gear episode where Dave had one, and on their track, and not only did it freaking catch fire, also it did not like corners at all whatsoever. It was, with the electronics turned off, it was just absolutely undrivable. And there you have it. I mean, I know that it's awesome to have like an 1100 and something horsepower engine under the bonnet, sure. But, you know, going fast in a straight line is one thing, but putting that power down and making it work through a corner is a whole other thing. That, you know, that gets harder and harder the more power you have. And it's something that not every manufacturer is capable of handling. Especially smaller ones, like Zenvo. I don't know if they're actually producing another car after the ST1. Did it sell? Like, how many did they sell? Because one thing you gotta admit is that the Zenvo ST1 looks awesome. It looks like the next big hypercar, and maybe it could have been, but it wasn't, because it was not good enough in a lot of areas. Okay. What do we still need to do here? Okay, this. We are pretty much done with the suspension already. That's pretty cool. Oh, I haven't repaired the body bits yet. Let's also do that. Oh, you know what? Let's do it at the end. Oh, and by the way, have you guys, like, speaking of very exotic supercars, have you guys heard of the Hispania GT Spano? It is a Spanish supercar. It's not a new car, it came out a couple of years ago. But they took a Viper V10 and thought, well, good engine, but maybe lacking a little bit of grunt. And they supercharged it. I think it may even be a twin supercharged setup. And twin supercharged Viper engine. I mean, just I'm terrified just by the thought of that. It makes 900 horsepower. With this much engine and 2 superchargers doesn't actually sound that much, but you know, it's still 900 horsepower. And I'm just mentioning this because I feel like I've never actually, you know, even in my wildest dreams, I've never thought of buying a Viper and then tuning it. Because honestly, the Viper is one of the crazier sports cars you can buy already. Twin supercharging it up to 900 horsepower is just absolute madness. And then obviously putting it into a mid-engine chassis, because otherwise you're not going anywhere but sideways. That's what the Spano, the GT Spano is. It's a mid-engined supercar with a twin supercharged Viper V10. God damn. And I'm actually really sad that the Jaguar CX-75 didn't make it into production, because I really think that it would have been an awesome competitor for the LaFerrari and the McLaren P1 and the Porsche 918. And that coming from Jaguar, which is like, you know, Jaguar has built really fast cars in the past. Think of the well, if you want to begin at the beginning, the XK120, or in the early 90s, the XJ220. It's, you know, Jag is no stranger to making really fast cars, but for whatever reason they decided that it wasn't the time to build a hybrid hypercar when everybody else is doing it. Well, everybody else, 3 manufacturers. It was actually a 1.6 liter 4-cylinder engine running to, I think, 11,000 RPM and helped out with a supercharger and a turbocharger, making 500 horsepower on its own, and then 2 electric motors, adding another, or was it 3 electric motors? Adding another about 450 horsepower or so. And that, I mean, this thing just sounded so awesome. It sounded almost like a bike, which is plausible because of the high revs from the 4-cylinder engine. But just that alone, the thought alone that a 4-cylinder hybrid would perform as well as, you know, the absolute hypercar elite in our time, that alone would be just an amazing achievement for Jaguar. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. So we're gonna, oh, actually it's not the camshaft I wanted to put on there. This is. This one. We're actually almost done with this engine. And once we put this in, we'll fit the belt tensioner, so I don't forget about that. It's one of the parts that I more commonly forget about. Okay, there is that. Let's just finish off this side entirely with the coils and the coils cover. Okay. That should be that. Now we're gonna put the oil pan back in. We spent about $29,000 for all the parts in this car, and I bought it for $63,000. And of course we haven't repaired the body panels yet, so there's gonna be a little bit more of an expense here. Imperator 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There is that, and remove this and this, and we should be pretty much done. Yes, still need to refill it with oil. Okay. Gonna sell these parts. Again, before I bought this and the pickup that we restored last time, I was at $206,000. If I sell this now for $96,900, we're at pretty much, well, over $260,000. So we made a lot of profit already. I'm gonna repaint this thing though, and I'm gonna be painting it blue. Yes, okay. That's this one. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode of Car Mechanic Simulator 2015. Leave a like or comment if you did. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.